Hello, beautiful people. It's Marilyn Maya. And the reason I'm saying beautiful people is because we lost a beautiful person last week. Singer, songwriter, and altogether beautiful person. It's Melanie Safka, or Melanie as she was called. It really shocked me to the core because I thought she would live much longer. She was a vegetarian and just an altogether healthy person. At least I thought so. And her song Beautiful People was the song she sang at Woodstock. No, I wasn't at Woodstock. If you remember, it went something like, beautiful people, you live in the same world as I do, but somehow I never noticed you before today. I'm ashamed to say. Don't worry, I'm not going to revitalize my long dead singing career. But my question was, what do you read when you're down? And I found that this month has been pretty tough on me. I was dumped by a doctor. This is going to sound so, pour me a pizza, pour me a drink. But yeah, I was dumped by a doctor that I had for 5 years. My physical therapy place closed down, and I've had nightly nightmares since I was dumped by said doctor. And then I found out my daughter was watching the Grammys, and I found out that we lost Melanie. And she was very important in my era, in my time life, in my personal life. I loved every song she wrote, and she wrote so many songs. And I changed my whole video today because of wanting to ask the question, how do I read when I'm depressed? How do you read when you're down? And I came to the conclusion that I read a lot more than I usually do. But I don't want to talk about all the books I read. I want to talk about the 5-star reads because I want to express how much those 5-star reads meant to my overall mental health and my happiness. So enough of the sadness. Let's get to the books, which we're here for, right? And the first book I want to talk about, I don't have, and I did have this. I think I gave it away by accident. And it's A Month in the Country, and I'll have it right here. It's by J.L. Carr. And I almost didn't read this book because, for a few reasons. I started it 3 times, and I thought, it sounds interesting, but all of these words that I don't really understand, that's related to architecture, and yeah, I don't have time to get my dictionary out and look at it. And then I started it on Kindle, and I realized what a gem of a book this is, and how I'm so glad that I read it. So what's the premise of the book? And the premise of the book and the theme of the book and the feels that it gives you are completely different. So the premise is a shell-shocked World War I veteran gets a job of restoration of a painting in a church in this town called Oxby. So he has to like scrape away all of the stuff that was painted on before, and he has to go on a scaffold. And while doing this, it takes place during the summer. And not only does he encounter this array of village people who are very interested in him, and including one hopelessly romantic, one bossy 13-year-old girl, cheapskate Victor, and another wounded veteran who has been also employed to seek out a corpse. So in this kind of weird setting, it's everything that you ever wanted to know about life, like I've said about a few books. So it takes place across a month, an entirely perfect English summer, which I've never experienced, that entire English summer. And it's so beautifully described. I wanted to cry. I wanted to cry sometimes at the way that the words were put together in these beautiful sentences. What I loved about the book, and I'll get into more about what it's about, but what I loved about the book is this is a man who doesn't want you to feel sorry for him. He comes from a different generation, the man in the book. Like over the whole book, you get a sense of loss. So his wife has been cheating on him while he's been away. And he has experienced, definitely PTSD. He has a stammer, and people notice it. And yet, in the beginning of the book, it's funny. It's really funny how he encounters all these people that, they're looking at him like, who are you? And what are you doing here? And it was just amazing. So let me just, so many beautiful paragraphs, but let me just read you one paragraph that is not only a famous paragraph, but it spoke to me and many other people. So, if I stayed there, would I always have been happy? No, I suppose not. People move away, grow older, die, and the bright belief that there will be another marvelous thing around each corner fades. It is now or never. We must snatch at happiness as it flies. And how he writes about the summer itself, deep, and the nature of where they are in this Yorkshire town. Deep red hollyhocks pressed against the limestone wall, and velvet butterflies flopped lazily from flower to flower. It was Tennyson weather, drowsy, warm, unnaturally still. So I loved this book. I thought it was beautifully written, and not only that, but I love the man. I love the man. And I thought, I won't even spoil it the way I wanted it to end, but it ended perfectly. And I think that everyone should read this book at least once, because it not only is written perfectly, and that's hard to say about some books, that you can't find anything wrong with it. It has a perfect blend of perfectly written sentences and life and mood and love and war. I mean, it has everything. Please read this book. The second 5-star book that I talked about already and finished is O Pioneers by Willa Cather. And I thought I read this book, and I didn't. I read My Antonia, which I really loved. But, I think I loved this better. And I almost didn't give it 5 stars because of Willa Cather's portrayal of the Czech people, or Bohemians, as they were called then. But this book is so well formulated and formatted that it tells the story of such a long period of time in like 4 beautiful parts. And the way she flows the language from one part to the other is so satisfying. And believe me, I've read maybe 14 books this month, and it wasn't always the case. So O Pioneers of course, is related to the pioneers that came from different places to live, to work the land in the Midwest, the prairie. And this is about one such family, a Swedish family, the Bergsons. And they're immigrants in the fictional town of Hanover, Nebraska at the turn of the 20th century. So we have the main character, which I loved, was a strong woman, Alexandra Bergson. And before the novel, while the novel starts, her father is still alive, and we get the picture of the whole family living together and working the land, and how hard that was. And he dies, and she inherits the farm, not the two brothers, which is a point of contention throughout the book. And she devotes her whole life to making her father's dream come true, to make it a viable enterprise. And she's very smart, and she does this. And while other immigrant families are leaving the prairie, they're finding it too hard, but these pioneers, these people that stayed and made our USA, Nebraska, Kansas, Minnesota, all of well, Minnesota's not really the prairie, is it? Maybe. I live there, I should know. But the novel is also concerned with romance. It has a romantic relationship from the time that the book begins with Alexandra and a boy that was not successful. His father wasn't successful in keeping their farm. And his name is, what was his name? Carl Lindstrom. And the other romantic interest is between Alexandra's brother and this is toward the end of the book, but it has, in the beginning, we meet them both, the brother and the girl that he falls in love with. And she's what they call a bohemian girl. And I'll be honest, I didn't know what bohemian meant, that it was the Czech people. And to know that they were, even by Willa Cather, sort of discounted as childish people, as emotional people, while the Swedish were kind of putting themselves sort of above. And that happens with every immigrant group. But yet you feel, and I was reading a lot of articles about Willa Cather, how even though most people did feel that the Bohemian people, Czech people, were below certain northern European countries, it wasn't really a total thing. So it was, and it comes clear in My Antonia that this is the way that she really felt. But despite that, I'm giving it 5 stars. I'm taking into account when it was written, and also how beautiful the book is, and how much I loved it. And her brother's name is Emil, and he falls in love with the married Marie Shabata. And she married, while he was going to school, she got married to Joseph Shabata. And there's some problematic areas of this book later on, and I don't want to spoil it. But despite everything, I just loved feeling the love that Willa Cather had for the pioneer people who came for a better life, and some of them were never farmers, and they had to work this tough land, and they did it. They really did it. So I just love this book. The next book that I'm giving 5 stars to is The Friend, a novel by Sigrid Nunez. And this book won the National Book Award. And I have to say, I read her other book, The Vulnerables, which I think I gave 4 stars to in the end. But it made me think that this is a very special author. And in this book, and it's not for everyone, it doesn't have a clear beginning, middle, and end, or even really a story or names. The only person, I'll say person, is a Great Dane named Apollo. But what is it about? It's about grief. So the general gist of this book is this woman, nameless woman, loses her best friend. She's maybe in love with him all these years, but he became a friend. He was a teacher, and he taught when she went to school, and now they're older, and he commits suicide. And she goes through the grieving process, and at the same time she is given or bequeathed his dog, the German Shepherd Apollo, and she lives in a small apartment. And so she's mourning, that's for sure. And the dog also is in mourning because he lost his master. And so between the two of them, the eviction is hanging over them. And that's sort of what, if there is a plot, that's sort of what it is. But it's a lot about writing. So if you don't like books about people who are writers talking about writing, this book might not be for you. And I am a writer, so I thought that I would love that part of it, and I kind of did, more than I did with The Vulnerables. And there's a lot of literary references, and for many people, you'll understand the Virginia Woolf references and many, many, many book classic references, but some people, that might turn them off. So like I said, it might not be a 5-star read for everyone, but there was a point in the book, I don't think it's a spoiler, when dog and woman meet each other, it's not love at first sight. He's pretty, first of all, he was found by the man who committed suicide. So he's been through something. He doesn't look like the perfect Great Dane, and Great Danes don't live long, and she says that in the book. But she takes such good care of him, and she creates such a bond between Apollo and her that I just loved it. It made me happy. I needed to be happy. And also there was a point in the book where he decides to, well, from the beginning, he decided to sleep on the bed, and the veterinarians are telling her, don't let him, he's gonna take over. And because he's so big, he's almost like sleepy. You know, he has his own pillow, and he's like man length, laid out like a person. And there was a time toward the end of the book, and I don't think it's a spoiler, where he gets up in the middle of the night, the dog does, and he's about to go down on his bed, and she says to him, no, stay. Oh, she needed him. She needed to feel him next to her, because it was comforting. And it was and this book was comforting to me, despite a few flaws, or maybe not having a plot. If you don't care about plot, this book is for you. Another thing that she does, and she did this in The Vulnerables, is that we're not sure, is this a memoir? She even has another part where she has an alternative story, and that kind of bugged me a little bit, but then I just went with the book and I said, I love it, that's it. Okay, so those are the books that I found to be 5-star reads. I do want to talk about another book that is not a 5-star read, but it made me feel happy, and that was because it was so out there. and that's Chasing the Bogeyman by Richard Chizmar. And Stephen King is blurbing it, so need I tell you, some people say it's a horror novel, some people say it's fiction, some people say it's metafiction, it's fake fiction, it's fake memoir. I can't tell you anything about it except that I was totally, it's a page turner, and it's about a serial killer. Or is it? So I enjoyed this. I'll just say that, and I won't really get into it because anything I could say would be spoiling it. So another book that I'm reading that is going to be a 5-star read is Oh, the Brave Music. And I don't know, I showed you this before. It's a coming-of-age novel from a girl who's 7 till she's maybe 14, and her friendship with a boy. Her father is a parson, and a very poor parson, and her mother was a lady who married beneath her at that time. And all I can say about this book is that the person, the character, the main character, Ruan, is, and I think I said this before, she makes the book. And I don't know how it's going to end. I just know that I love the words, I love the story, I love everything about it, so I know it's going to be a 5-star read. Now I just wanted, before I end this video, I want to ask some questions. Now, I read a lot more than I usually do this month. And mainly it's because, like I said, I have no place to go because my physical therapy place closed. And that used to be my the time that I went there to take walks, look at nature. And because I'm right now, my transportation is not totally, my daughter drives me around, but she's working all the time, so I'm sort of housebound. And I'm doing a lot of exercises that the physical therapist, before they closed, and they gave only 2 days notice to their people, so I'm to their employees, which is so rude. You know, why are people so mean? I mean, I have a doctor who I was seeing for 5 years, every couple of months, and he doesn't even like tell me, sorry, I'm not going to take your insurance anymore, goodbye. Not even that much. And you know, that was depressing. And then then the place closes, my physical therapist, so I have no place to go. So I had more time to read, and I read a lot of books. I read contemporary fiction. I don't usually, chick lit, what they used to call chick lit. I don't usually read that. I used to read it, but I don't read it anymore. I mean, I read everything and anything, and with some good results, some not. None came to the 5-star books that I've read, that I've talked about today, but I find that reading helps me a lot. It helps me to escape into all these worlds and learn and all those wonderful things that reading does. But it also can be a little bit of a downer. When you start reading a lot, you start DNFing a lot. And I was such in a mood that I wasn't even much into DNFing. I would just say, if it's a read, I'm going to read it. And I did have some 4-star reads that I'm going to talk about in another video. But like I said, this Losing Melanie, and next month is March Mystery Madness, and I'm going to be a co-host of March Mystery Madness. But that also made me think that we lost one of the total queens of March Mystery Madness, Janelle. And that was one of the reasons I decided to become a co-host, just to honor her, because she was a friend and a wonderful booktuber. So here I lost Melanie, I have Janelle, I lost my doctor, a lot of stuff, right? But we always have books. So tell me down in the comments, do you read more when you're feeling blue? Or do you stop reading at all? Or does it depend on the circumstance? So anyway, I hope I wasn't too much of a downer. I did enjoy my 5-star reads. And I think some of them might be books of the year, the best books of 2024, who knows? And, you know, before I go, I just want to wish everyone happiness, because we're only here a short time on earth. So we try to be happy, but sometimes, you know, life gets in the way of that. You know, we're always told, be grateful for every day. And I really am grateful for every day. And I'm grateful that my mother taught me how to read at such a young age. And I'm so grateful for the people who follow me on my journey on BookTube for these last 4 years, and the friends that I've made. It means so much to me. I don't get out much. So please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in a next video, hopefully, where I will talk more about my 4-star, 3-star, and not so star reads. So until we meet again, I wish you love, happiness, and always aloha.